Want to jump back into our Holy Week devotions. Today we move into Holy Saturday, and this is the day that Christ quietly takes his repose after finishing his work. Holy Saturday represents the finality of death. Christ was not just a little dead, he was really, really dead. Sometimes people rise up after having been thought to have been dead. You know, they get back up off the morgue bed or something like this. But after 3 days, that is a wrap. So Christ is really, really dead. So he lays in the tomb for 3 days. And why does that death really matter so much? Well, because it is through his death that we are redeemed. Somebody had to pay the penalty for our sinning. The wages of sin is death, and on the cross, Christ paid it in full through his death and through his burial in the grave. And as I said, today is Holy Saturday. Christ rests from his labors, just as the Father rested on the seventh day after finishing the work of creation. Christ rests on the seventh day after finishing the work of redemption. Now, I want to mention two disciples that show up when Jesus rests quietly in the tomb like this. In our text, we're introduced to a man by the name of Joseph of Arimathea. And the text tells us that Joseph was a respected member of the council. That is the Sanhedrin, the council, the group that put Jesus on trial and had him put to death. And we know that Joseph was not present in that council because it says that there was a unanimous vote there to put him to death. And Joseph, being a disciple of Jesus, was not there, and he would have not voted against him. But Joseph is not the only man who comes to Jesus's side, as it were, during this time to help with the burial. There is another man in John's gospel by the name of Nicodemus. So before I mention Nicodemus, John also tells us that Joseph was secretly a disciple of Jesus. And in John's gospel, he introduces us to Nicodemus, who also comes to Jesus' aid and to Joseph's aid to help in the burial process. And Nicodemus is also somebody who was secretly a disciple of Jesus. You will remember the exchange that they have in the beginning of John's gospel, where Jesus is talking to him about the new birth, and Nicodemus says, "How can a man go back into his mother's womb and be born again?" Nicodemus is not getting it. Jesus is talking about a spiritual rebirth, but he comes to Jesus secretly in that scenario. And in our text, we learn that Joseph takes courage and goes to take down the body of Jesus. Now, why would it take courage for him to do this? Why would it take courage for him and Nicodemus to show up during this time to bury Jesus? Well, Jesus was a very controversial figure. As a matter of fact, he had just been executed for this controversy that was as a result of the controversy that was created and the religious leaders' hatred of him. And so for Joseph and for Nicodemus at this point to come and take down the body of Jesus and to align themselves with Jesus would put their lives and their careers at jeopardy. Nicodemus is also said to be a ruler of the Jews. So, these disciples were both men who worked behind the scenes for fear of persecution. They both came to Jesus prior to this in secret. But when the day came and it was time for them to show up, they did. And my exhortation for you today is that you would do the same. Let us too rise to the occasion. Today we go about our work quietly as we observe the holy silence as Christ lays in the tomb. But tomorrow we rise up together with Christ and continue the work of redeeming the world. There is a time to be quiet, and there is a time to shout. Today we are quiet, and tomorrow we shout. Amen. I hope that you are having a blessed day. I look forward to being with you tomorrow. Once again, we'll be live streaming our service. Our Easter Sunday service will be up sometime tomorrow around 10:30, give or take. Sometimes we have technical difficulties. Sometimes I get going a little bit behind or so forth. So around 10:30, expect to see that live feed come up. Again, I will send out a bulletin prior to that meeting, and I will also have a PowerPoint running so that you can follow along with us in it. All right, guys. I hope this helps. I hope it encourages you. Hope it gives you some things to think about. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow in this way, and seeing you again face to face as soon as we can. Love you all. God bless.